Well, hello there. My name is Susan Hamilton, and you're watching OffBeat Business TV or listening to the OffBeat Business Show on the OBBM Network podcast. Today, I'm talking with Rod Rodriguez with Safety First, the security expert, and we're going to talk about some very important things today.
You're listening to the OffBeat Business Show, rebuilding American business influence locally, nationally, and abroad, bringing you experienced insight for a strong, influential brand and successful life in business. Here's your host, Susan Hamilton.
One of the big tenets with OBBM Network is recognizing who you are, friends. 80% of American micro to small business tend to be family-owned businesses of 9 employees or less. That means we're building our business while we're raising our children. That means we're taking care of our parents at the same time. We probably have a veteran or active duty, LEO or EMT in our family or workspace, and about 30 to 50% of us have an addict in our family or workspace. So it's very important that we talk about security, and we talk about these mass casualty events in a responsible way and a bold way, because chances are, friends, you are keeping a home office because you want to be able to stay close to the kids at school. You want to be there for them, even after you've moved into a brick and mortar location. And more, that flexible workspace is very attractive to the local family business. But we've got concerns here, Rod, and this is a very escalated time. So thank you so much for being willing to address such a sensitive topic and such a timely place in history. We are just coming off of news cycles talking about El Paso and Dayton, Ohio. This is quite an interesting time.
Unfortunately, it's a topic that's really hot right now, and I hate that we have to have discussions about active killing or mass casualty incidents, but unfortunately, it is happening, it is realistic, it's happening right now, and we have to be prepared for it. Whether you're a small business or a large business, whether you're self-employed or multiple employees, I think having contingency plans already lined up for you to take action if need be.
It's important. I was sitting at a table the other day where we were encouraging the trade businesses that were sitting at the table to talk about their biggest problem. And do you know what they said? Every single one of them, hands down, that the biggest problem that they were seeing in their business was employment, because they could not guarantee that they'd have people that would pass those drug tests, so they were going through them quite frequently, right? Or they had to turn down so many before they ever started. But then, on top of it, if they were coming in, they were twisting off. There's a lot of attitude out there, a lot of stress that people are not really dealing with well. And to find out that that's hitting so close to home, this is a problem, and they're concerned about that problem. And so the natural reaction in this group is to be super strict on hiring because they can't afford to be in such a sensitive place. I think they're right.
I think when it comes to, as a business owner, and figuring out, the right employees that work well with your vision, you have to also implement the type of training that you're going to have the right employee that's going to stay for a long period of time. And what I mean by that is a lot of the training when it comes to training your employees, you got to make sure that these employees are worth that training, and take for example, I'm a business owner and there's like 5 employees, but they're all part-time. Do I invest in their training knowing that they're only going to be there for a summer or maybe a season, and then next year another 5 come in? That's difficult for employees or employers to feel that need.
Right.
So this is where we kind of run into the problem as in when I go into facilities and I do some sort of training, consulting with them, and then advising them what kind of training they need to train these employees. And it all comes down to when you initially hire someone, because most active killings has been proven statistically that they're ex-employees. It's workplace violence is what the biggest issue is. And it all starts with how you terminate somebody. Is it, a bad on both ends for the employer and for the employee? And typically they'll return. Or maybe there's flags in one of the employees that they see.
Mm-hmm. And that's typically, I think, what we're seeing is the flags. That's facilitating that conversation at the table.
So do the employees have the training to recognize flags? And I'm seeing now, as a professional and speaking with these companies, that's a really big issue, is learning what to look for and getting those early stages. Because, I mean, you see the news now, there's a history. These people leave manifestos. There's history to show that they're going to do an incident, and sure enough, they do. And then we backtrack and find out there was a lot of red flags. But who sees them, and what do we do about it?
I don't know. Do we recognize red flags, Rod?
I think we all do. Is just what do we do with that information?
Well, why don't you name a few of them, if you don't mind?
Take, for
what
example,
are some red flags?
Well, I'll give you, having a good relationship with your employees is a positive thing. And I
Yes.
think every employee or employer needs to have a relationship with their employees, especially their first line of supervisors. And what they need to do is recognize that employee to see their well-being. Are they happy at work? Are they frustrated at work? Are they showing signs? What's going on in their life? Are they going through a divorce? Are they losing hours and it's impacting them? There's certain categories where you look for, and then once you recognize that, it's how you handling it. Are you approachable to an employee? Can you walk up to your employee and have a conversation about, hey, this isn't work related, but we notice that you're going through divorce, and do you have, counseling options as an employee? Or as an employer to offer to your employees? These are some of the things that could help reduce some of these incidents. If we just love on people, love on your employees.
Yeah.
Happy employees are not going to do, mass casualty incidents. It's a proven statistic.
Well, thank you, because we could use some hope in this space. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate that, because that's definitely very hopeful. So tell us a little bit more about the types of training that you're doing. Is that a black ring on your finger right there?
It's, yes, the American flag on it,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yeah, so that's the 22? Yes?
It's
No?
just an American flag.
Just the
I think it
American
represents
flag,
a lot of
right?
it, but you can take it in that direction for sure. Yes, absolutely.
Because I know you're very patriotic and you support the United States and you support our schools and our homes. So tell us a little bit about the training that you offer and why it's so important to be hands-on in this space.
Great question. The type of approach that I take to is very hands-on, is very custom. I think when you have a custom program, it brings where the value is, meaning that I could sit up here and talk to all these ladies and gentlemen and tell them how active shooter education is, what to look for, signs to look for. But if we don't implement that in a custom program, meaning that I go to your facility and implement a program specifically for your type of business and the type of employees that you have, where they're all introverted, extroverted, and things of that nature, and then do walkthroughs and rehearsals, so we build a really good blueprint. And I think the blueprint, as in, I imagine you go grocery shopping, right?
I do.
Do you go to the same grocery store?
Yes,
Imagine if you-
I've got a handful of places that I like to go. Yes.
If you're looking for, potatoes, do you know where to go?
Yes.
And I imagine you know where it's at because you've been there before.
Yes, sir.
So it makes it a little bit easier. Now, if you ever been out of town, go to visit a friend in California, and you go to their supermarket in California, and you're looking for potatoes, you're probably going to take you a little bit longer. You're probably going to have to, search around more than abnormal instead of just walking straight to that. And what it is that you have a blueprint of the shopping center or your grocery store because you've been there before. What we're trying to do is have that same mindset. When I go into a facility, I build them a mental blueprint for the training, for the contingency plan. And not only just think incident happened. For example, I own a brick and mortar in a complex, and I'm in the left corner, and there's an active shooter in the right corner. Can my business help this incident? Can I train that there's going to be a large amount of people running towards my business? Can I offer them first aid? Do I have a hiding spot in my facility to help store these people?
Oh my goodness, you've already listed so many things that we just don't think about.
Right. Well, you have to look at it as in contingency planning, not necessarily specifically for active shooting. Don't be so specific, but kind of looking at it as in there's so much violence and potential violence that it can happen in different directions that we need to just be prepared. And I think if we look at it abroad, my training is very concept-based. So if you learn the concept, it's not specific, targeted towards certain things. You just learn the concept, and then you can fill it in for the rest.
Oh my goodness. So what levels of management need to be participating in this? Everyone, or really just strategic areas?
It definitely takes, the bigger your team is, obviously the more efficient you can be. But at the same time, there has to be roles. So I'll start out with the lead management and the HR department, talking about when they hire their employees, how to train their employees, what the employees should expect, and know the programs that the employees are offered, so they know that everybody loved. It's the honeymoon stage when you get hired on. I'm hiring you. Welcome to the family. I love you right now. You love me, and so forth. As years go by, does that love separate? Next year, you fear someone's taking your job, and then it ends in bad terms. So I think teaching the HR department and the head leaders, and then all the way down to the first line supervisors, someone who sees the employee daily, to learn, how are their behavior? Are there any signs that they're seeing that are abnormal? Are they browsing on the internet, and looking at guns or active shooters? Are they looking at videos? And we need first line supervisors to see the red flags, to report it to the upper management.
Well, that's true, but at what point is that invasive?
Well, I think learning how it all works and knowing that everybody takes their part, everyone needs to have a role in it. And that goes as far as, even if an incident was to happen, designate someone specifically. Your job is to, if an incident happened, to call 911. And when something happens, your job is to call 911. Let first responders, the stopwatch starts when an incident happens. How quick do the first responders come? The people who are really trained to stop the incident are on their way. We need somebody to contact them as soon as possible. You're going to have somebody significantly point for that mission. The other person, who's going to meet them outside, who's going to point them in the right direction, who's going to walk people out, who's going to control the safe room. If you have defenders in your company, people who are trained to stop the violence, or when do they come into play, and who are they going to be, and how are you going to train them? So you can only understand this takes a lot of effort and a lot of work and a lot of team members.
And I've got so many questions, and I'm excited to get back to that. Friends, we're going to take a break and hear from a few of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to talk more with Rod Rodriguez and understand what we need to do to prepare ourselves and have a safer community.
The American business economy is positioned as it has never been before. Professional videography is a core element for attracting a higher level of engagement with the people group you need for significant impact. Now is your time to shine. My name is Bill Brock, owner of White Rock Films, and I invite you to a powerful opportunity in the marketplace. An opportunity to draw excited people to your events, an opportunity to showcase your ideas on infrastructure, an opportunity to become known as the industry authority and enjoy the associated benefits of a strong, influential brand. Video highlights, video teaches. Video puts a resistant market at ease, and video stirs the hearts and imaginations of your allies and strategic client base. White Rock Films offers full audio, video production for businesses ready to embrace the future, handling your project with professionalism, experience, and polish unheard of in the industry. My name is Bill Brock, and White Rock Films wants your business. See us online at whiterockfilms.com.
And we're back. You're watching OffBeat Business TV or listening to the OBBM Network podcast. This is Susan Hamilton talking with Rod Rodriguez with Safety First. He is your security expert, and he's helping us understand what's going on in our communities when it comes to active killer scenarios and mass casualty. How can we stop this? How can we respond better? Rod, you opened up so many thoughts with what you said just a few moments ago. My goodness, there's a lot to consider. You talked about the contingency plans. Wow, these things, we don't know really how to react right away. And the cool head always makes the difference, but a cool head is usually a trained head to some degree, right? They've
Absolutely.
trained themselves to in a certain response mechanism. Help us understand really where we need to be and how this training plugs in all those gaps for us.
Well, the training, we shouldn't be so dependent on someone actively training us. I think it comes to the point where there's training available for families, even for children. I mean, active shooters in schools is probably what brought the most attention, even though active shooting has happened for many years in workplace violence, but no one considered it until, active shooter never became a thing until it became in Columbine, and it happened at a school, at a gun-free zone. But, I think it starts really at home.
Okay.
And speak with your kids about it, regardless of what age they are. Safety should always be safety first. You should always talk about, whether your child, a 5-year-old, for example. Obviously, a 5-year-old doesn't drive to school and home, but does that mean that the 5-year-old child shouldn't know at least how to get home in a vehicle? Can you have your child point you the directions, like, all right, can you lead us home while you drive? And that could be an example of, does the child know how to get home? Of course, they're not going to drive themselves home, but can they get home? Can they get to the supermarket? Can they get to the police department? Will they know how? Does your child know how to open your phone? Does your phone have a code on it? Can they call 911 from your cell phone, from mom and dad's cell phone?
I love that. Oh, I love that, Ron.
Do they know how to use it? Do they know how to use a phone? Obviously, like I mentioned before, notifying the first responders is important. And I think, even goes down to protecting your home. Do they know how to work the security system? Do they know the codes to the security system? Do they have a safe code at home? So start there, start at home. And then once they get their mind tricking, when you're at a restaurant, and of course, here recently, we know things happen at Walmart, at grocery stores, at gas stations, do they know what cover and concealment is? Do they know the difference?
Cover and concealment?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what that means.
So cover and concealment is basically how you deter someone from seeing you or protect yourself from that person who's trying to commit violence to you. For an example, if something was to go on right now at this very moment, where do you run? Do you just run away from danger, or are you specifically running towards a safe zone? I think the smart mindset is that I'm running towards something, because when your emotions get involved and there's a shooter going off, and then all of a sudden, I'm just going to run away from the shooting. But you have to have a destination. Give me a goal. My goal is to run to safety, and I'm running specifically to this place. And therefore, all I can think about is I need to get to this place really fast. I think you'll get there faster if you know where it's at and if you thought about it before, than just running crazy and trying to run away from someone trying to harm you. So teach kids that. Teach them how to run home, how to run to the police department, how to get to safety, and make it a goal. And they'll get there quicker and faster. What information should they give to the officer? And so that kind of mindset starts at a young age. And I think if we all think like this, we'll reduce the damage when it comes to violence.
I think that's really important, and I'm in total agreement with you. I make sure my grandchildren know when I take them to the park, when we go, this is where we live, do we take a right or a left? I want to make sure that they're very situationally aware. Although I understand from LTC class that means a whole lot more than we realize to be situationally aware, to recognize what's going on at any given time. The amount of distraction we have in our lives on a regular basis, it's just amazing. How many ways we need to plug back into relationships. We need to plug back into our surroundings and get off of our devices to look around and make sure we're thinking through all of those things. Rod, you mentioned something earlier that got my attention. You said that if there's a mass of people running away, what do you do? Where do you respond? And I got to tell you, I have no idea. What would you say in a scenario like this? When you see people's reactions, you don't see the problem. It's clear that there's a problem. Wow, but you're faced with this mass reaction. What's the wise first thought we should have?
Well, obviously, if there's 100 people running in a certain direction, I would probably start running itself and ask questions later. I think that's the safe thing to do. But then it really depends on your training. It really depends on what the why's. Running and escaping and evading from danger is one thing, and then finding a safe haven and protecting that safe haven is another. And if you're trained and have the training and the mindset to saying, hey, we're gonna have a safe haven, we're safe here, and then if violence comes, the best tactic is to defend this house or this room or this place. Having a plan to do that is actually more effective. So, meaning what I mean is that we can run so much far away, but it's not just running that's going to keep you away from danger. You got to have a plan attached to that. You got to have a safe haven. When you get to the safe haven, you set up your defense. You just can't continue running, but just run into a safe haven. So the safe haven training comes into effect. Is in how do you barricade yourself? How do you, put a defense to protect your loved ones? Because in public, sometimes safe havens aren't available, and you have to create one. So something to think about.
It is.
Also, we talk about kids and how you learn so much from teaching other people something. If I was teaching you English, I actually have to do some research in order for me to teach that. So when parents are teaching kids about safety, they actually will learn more about safety than just going somewhere and someone educating them. So being a teacher in these elements or these subjects actually helps that person. And I think that's the direction we need to go. We all need to take responsibilities and teach our children or teach our coworkers or your family or your spouse, hey, what do we do? And collaborate, come up with, creative ideas of safety. And I think that brings up the topic. Once you bring up that, get other people involved. I mean, I have a 15-year-old that goes to a high school.
Yeah.
A fairly large high school. And I'm having my son ask the teachers, hey, if an active shooter was to happen, what's the plan here? Get the teachers involved. They may not have one, but at least gets them thinking. And if the teacher's wise enough and they don't know the answer, ask their administrative, get people involved. And it all starts with, getting the conversation started. Now that's what I love about sitting here today, is that we're talking about this.
It is. It's so important. And before we are done, I want to make sure we spend a minute on what we touched on yesterday about the routine of response, right? The practice of it. I would say it's very similar to sales training. It's very similar to any type of training that you're going to have. You're going to do a better job once you have done some dry runs, once you've done some setups, right, and run through it. When it comes to how we're going to be responding, especially if we are carrying, right, we need to really take those moments to train that out. I know Greg Stevens from the Caldwell Center over in Garland a couple of years ago. I mean, he attributes his training and the fact that he proactively went after his own training. He spent weekends out there understanding his gun, understanding his reaction, understanding exactly how to shoot. And when the time came, he was able to protect an entire auditorium.
I think that's a really great point. I think when it comes to education and training, I love the training aspect, and that's the direction that I go towards. That's my objective, is to make sure that we're doing training and not necessarily just education. And what I mean by that is, I don't necessarily call them scenarios, because scenarios, it's just action and then it's done and then you talk about it afterwards. I'll actually slow it down and refer it to as a rehearsal. And what I mean by that is that we slow it down enough to really get emotion involved to it. So think about this. When you think rehearsal, you go to a wedding rehearsal, right? And you're getting married. You stand there and you're almost visualizing what's happening. You can see, you're in rehearsal of walking down the aisle, what music's going to be playing, and you're getting emotion involved in it. And you're picturing and envisioning what's going on, how you see it, how you're going to feel in that moment. And that's important when it comes to adrenaline dump type situations, which would
My goodness, that's quite a contrast.
Right. So when you get emotion involved, like an adrenaline dump, you got to make sure that you've already visualized, people running. You've already visualized hearing voices and screaming, and you may not even be a runner. Some people can't run physically, and if they can't run, then they need to know that before something happens. They need to have a plan for, hey, I'm not a runner because of my leg or for whatever reason. It's more efficient for me to seek cover or to fight. There's nothing wrong with seeking cover and fighting. I mean, that may be something that's it's going to happen. So be prepared for that as well. Visualize. I think rehearsing is the training that we really focus on, so we can kind of get a lot of emotion involved in it, visualization in it, and have a better outcome.
Rod, I appreciate so much what you're doing here in the DFW area. Help our audience understand how to reach you and how to connect with you on social media so they can start paying attention to what you're teaching right now.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Rod Rodriguez. I am the security expert. I do have Facebook, which is the security expert, Rod Rodriguez. I also have a website, www.thesecurityexpert.net. And there's the training that I offer. Obviously, you can contact me there. I love to have the opportunity to go to business and build them a custom program for them for contingency plans from anywhere from first aid responses, someone having a heart attack at your office, what do you do, to, unfortunately, mass killing incidents and things of that nature. We got a plan for that as well.
Well, I appreciate that. Friends, if you did not have an opportunity to write that down, if you're driving down the road and you're listening to this on the OBBM radio or OBBM network podcast, know that we will have all this information accompanying the audio and accompanying the video so that you can connect with Rod, and I suggest that you do that. Download the OffBeat Business app to get all the OBBM network programs directly in the palm of your hand. Until next time, this is Susan Hamilton. You've been watching OffBeat Business TV or listening to the OBBM network podcast.
You've been listening to the OffBeat Business Show. Find our lineup, podcast, magazine, event calendar, and sponsor information, even our membership directory, all available on the OffBeat Business app or at offbeatbusiness.com. Download the OffBeat Business app today.